Happy Thursday, Brigade. What's up? Welcome into another episode of the Bostonian versus the Book. We are live on YouTube and on X at Boston versus the Book. We are replay on Sports Grid Television and wherever you guys get your audio podcasts. On the show today, what is going on in North Carolina? Have you guys been following this Bill Belichick thing? This is wild. We're starting the show with it. I can't get enough of it. It's insane. I don't get it. This is becoming even a bigger sideshow than I thought it was going to get into. Major League Baseball, will we end two more series today? Game 4s. We have a game 5. We have one. We know we're going to Seattle. Game 5. Tigers forced that, surprisingly enough. So we got a game tomorrow. Do we have 2 games tomorrow? Just 1 game tomorrow. Break down those games. It's Thursday night football. Eagles, Giants. What's the level of interest? Are we excited about this? Are we interested? Or are the Giants a complete dumpster fire and we're not all that concerned for the Eagles? It would be very on brand for the current October run of the NFL to have the Eagles lose this game here tonight. We got picks, plays, props, and more all coming up today on the program, but we're going to begin with college football, and we will talk a lot of college football. It's Thursday. We do talk college. Big games on Saturday to break down today. But first, is Belichick out soon at Carolina? This story is maybe my favorite story of 2025. How did we get here is an awesome question with Bill Belichick, the 73-year-old former Patriot and Giants assistant, Patriot head coach, the 8-time Super Bowl winning coach who took the job in Carolina. He took the job and surprised everybody going to college when the NFL would not hire him for whatever reason. The NFL was not interested in Bill Belichick anymore. They were out on Belichick. And so when Mac Brown was let go and the team said, hey, we're going somewhere else and we're going to go and replace Mac Brown because Mac Brown's too old. Well, on November 26th, 2024, following a loss to Boston College, he went 6-6. And they said, look, we appreciate everything you've done, but we're going in a different direction. Less than 2 weeks later, Bill Belichick was named the successor of Mac Brown because Belichick, is young. And so let's go with the youth movement and let's hire Bill Belichick. During which everyone asked some very interesting questions about how would Belichick relate to college players. In the NFL, you draft players. In college, you must recruit and now pay players. How would Belichick at his age, with his 24-year-old girlfriend, how would this go over in Chapel Hill, North Carolina? Well, he brought in 70 new players. That's what he did. And the nepotism on the coaching staff was unbelievable. Michael Lombardi became the general manager, even though he had very little experience doing anything in college. It was the 80s for Michael Lombardi to be involved in college football. His ability to communicate and to relate to young people was always questioned. It was always going to be a problem, but Belichick knows ball, right? Belichick knows ball. So Belichick's going to be able to do what no one thinks he can do. Win. He's going to go there and he's going to win, right? Well, things have not gone well at all. This week, a cornerback coach was suspended for offering extra benefits to a student athlete on the football team. The Tar Heels are off to a historically bad start, like the worst in program history type of start. They have been dominated by every Power 4 team they have played. They've been outscored 120-33. And everyone is going, oh no, what did we do? How did we hire this guy? How did we give this guy the keys to the Carolina football program? Do you guys remember opening night? Do you remember Michael Jordan? Do you remember all the dignitaries, everybody that was out to see Bill Belichick and how good this program was going to be? So far, the highlight of the entire season was the opening drive touchdown for the Carolina Tar Heels. And after that, North Carolina has been absolutely in a straight free fall right to the basement of college football. Then it leaked out yesterday that Belichick might want out. This is unbelievable by a writer named Ollie Conley, who is reporting the following. Per sources, Bill Belichick has discussed buyout options with North Carolina's hierarchy. Belichick has signaled a willingness to trigger his own $1 million buyout if he can find a soft landing with another team or in the media. Members of Belichick's coaching staff have already spoken to other schools that are expected to be in the college football playoff about taking on roles during the postseason. From one coach, the Rats are leaving the ship. Some staffers believe a change will come within the next 2 weeks. Reports of serious recruiting violations remain under investigation at UNC. Recruiting and practice violations have already been proven by the school, according to multiple sources. Using recruit violations to knock down a coach's buyout has become a standard practice. If Belichick cannot find a landing spot to trigger his own buyout, he's expected to accept a greatly reduced, compromised rate. Belichick's communication with his staff in the past 2 weeks has been described as, quote, weird and distant by multiple members of UNC's coaching staff. Multiple coaches were unable to get a hold of him during North Carolina's bye week. From one UNC defensive assistant, what we've done to these kids is effed up. I mean, what is going on in Carolina? Remember when we were asking about Belichick and whether or not he was all upstairs, dating the 24-year-old, saying things were really weird, kicking out Patriot scouts from their practicing games, not allowing North Carolina to put anything on their social media about Drake May following the win over the Buffalo Bills. Like, all these things are starting to add up to seeing a guy who just is not the sharpest pencil in the cup at the moment. He's got issues. What are those issues? We don't really know, but it looks like Belichick wants out. In response to that, Bill Belichick and the university both issued statements saying, Belichick speaking, I am fully committed to the UNC football and the program we're building here. Bubba Cunningham, the man who hired Bill Belichick, the athletic director at North Carolina, Coach Belichick has the full support of the Department of Athletics and university. What else are they supposed to say? Let me tell you this. Bill Belichick's failure at North Carolina is a good thing. It's a good thing for college sports. Do you remember when Belichick called North Carolina the 33rd NFL team? He said that. He goes, we plan on making North Carolina the 33rd NFL team. You can't draft players in college sports. You also can't bring them in as 18, 19, and 20-year-olds and treat them like grown men, because they're not. They haven't been asked to do that their whole lives. We're talking about 5-star and 4-star athletes. We're talking about athletes who have had everything done for them, coddled, controlled. Everything, every step of the way has been done with their future in mind, and their parents and their guardians heavily involved. Belichick has shut them all out. He has shut them all out. And this current environment of the NIL world, we've been wondering, how far will this go? When will we hit the ceiling, so to speak, about how professional will college sports become? And we're seeing it here. You can't just hire an NFL coach who then brings in a bunch of NFL coaches and goes and wins. You have to be able to recruit. You have to be able to develop, and you have to be able to be there for your players. And by all accounts, Bill Belichick has not been there for his players. This is the same guy who determined that he wanted to post pictures with him and his girlfriend on the beach. And then we're surprised that the headline comes out from WRAL television in Raleigh: divided locker room, disastrous results, players, parents blame Belichick culture for UNC problems. Multiple sources with knowledge of the inner workings of Bill Belichick's program say that the UNC football coach, that the losses are a product of a divided locker room, a disorganized coaching staff, and a failure to communicate. We're surprised? I'm not surprised, but I'm also happy. I'm also happy this is happening because we don't need a 33rd NFL football team in college. We don't need a program so dedicated to professional football that they forget what really makes college football college football. Yeah, these kids don't really go to school. Okay, fine. Yeah, these kids get compensated a lot now, and they're paid through NIL and direct payment from the universities. Yes, things are much different today than they were 5 years ago in college football. But if you've been around the game for as long as I have, the kids have been getting paid forever. Like, kids getting paid in college football. It was the biggest known secret ever that players were getting paid back to the 70s, the 80s, the 90s. Kids were getting compensated. Now we're just talking about it openly, right? It's sort of the same thing about that guy down the street that you knew was smoking marijuana all the time, and now he just talks about it openly, right? I mean, like, before it was hush hush, don't talk about it. Now that, cannabis is legal, go ahead, talk about it. You can be seen with it. This is a good thing for us who love college sports, that Belichick is failing, that Belichick is falling on his face. But what happens now? Because in the wake of all of this, in all the turmoil over the last 2 weeks, Hulu has announced that they are not going to do the in-season documentary. What did they shoot? Like, what do they have on Belichick in North Carolina already on tape? They announced it in August that they were going to be doing a full season documentary on North Carolina. And now they announced yesterday that they are not. After the game on Saturday, Tar Heels 24/7 went and looked at the Getty images for the Clemson, North Carolina game, a game in which Carolina got thoroughly destroyed. I mean, it was 28-0 or 28-3 after the first quarter. Clemson couldn't score on anybody, but they were having success like it was against air in that football game. There were 57 photos by Getty Images of the North Carolina game, and 23 of those pictures were of Jordan Hudson. Think about that. People are there to photograph a football game, and instead they're photographing the head coach's girlfriend. Half of the pictures taken for the game were of Jordan Hudson. That's weird. Remember, and in case you don't know this, Getty Images, they have a website that they go and edit their photos, and then they put their photos up onto this drive that's in a cloud that you go and pull down if you want to use for websites or you want to use it for your publications. You pay Getty Images for that right to go and utilize that. So somebody at Getty Images took all the hundreds of photos that were taken, edited up a certain number of them, and then posted 57 of them, and then had a conscious decision to make 23 of the 57 photographs of his girlfriend, of the 24-year-old, not the football team. Like, what are we doing? How is this possible? How are these things going down at North Carolina? If you're going to leave mid-season, what does this do to the legacy of Bill Belichick? Does he ever coach again? Remember, we all thought that he was going to go back to the NFL after a year anyway, but we thought he would go back after winning, or at least being respectable, like at least getting Carolina to a bowl game. We thought they'd be 6-6, or thought they'd be, just a team worth watching in college football. And then some owner would say, okay, Bill, yeah, come on back. You can finish up here. Pete Carroll is about your age. He's coaching the Raiders. Come on back. You can be here. Not like this. Belichick could very well be done with coaching. And in all reality, if Bill wants to be dating a 24-year-old and Bill wants to do the things that he's been doing, why is he coaching anyway? To give Jordan Hudson a job? Is that why he went there? Because he's letting her do everything. We know this. She's the one that set up the Hulu documentary. She's the one that sat in on the 60 Minutes interview, all the things that were anti-Bill Belichick, right? This entire thing involving Carolina and Bill Belichick has been the antithesis of what he was as the head coach of the Patriots. Do your job, no distractions. All he has done is everything but his job, and everything he does is a distraction for the football team and the football program. And he's brought a lot of people with him. He's brought in a lot of talent. He's brought in a lot of guys who picked up their lives to move down to Carolina to be a part of this because they have been part of the Belichick tree, and that Belichick was going to do some incredible things at Carolina and show why he's the greatest coach of all time. All he has done is injure his legacy and give more fuel to the fire for people that have stated that it was Brady and not Belichick that led the Patriots to their 6 Super Bowl championships, and that Brady is the greatest quarterback of all time, and Belichick was lucky to have Tom Brady, as Brady proved when he went to Tampa and won a championship in his first year. And in Belichick's first job after coaching the Patriots, he's about to get run out of Carolina. Does he last this season? I don't know. My gut would tell me no, that Belichick is not going to last this season. But I don't know who takes over, and I don't know what that means for the kids. Because when your coach gets fired or your coach leaves, they can all enter the portal. They can all leave and go elsewhere. And so if that quote is accurate, the rats are leaving the ship. What does that do for Carolina football going forward? And how far back does this put Carolina in the ACC? Because they're not the most prideful football program in the ACC, but they've been playing football since the 1800s. And Belichick has drop kicked this program into a really, really bad place. Does he quit? Yeah, I think it's probably likely that Belichick quits. But it's crazy to look what's going on with Carolina right now. And then what happens after that, after he leaves, what happens next? I have really no idea, to be quite honest. I have no idea on that. Oh, did this freeze again? My gosh, I don't know what is going on with StreamYard. This is really pretty interesting. If that froze again. Let's try one thing. Let's see if that fixed it. Nope, that didn't fix it. Now, I know it's not the internet because I have completely upgraded my internet yesterday. So you guys need to tell me if I freeze or not. But I'm not going to freeze, but my stingers are now all frozen, which is the second time this week this has happened, which is kind of annoying. But we can move on to what happened last night. The Blue Jays take out the Yankees in 4. New York has now won 1 title in the last 25 years. If you did not see the Fox post-game press or the post-game interview from the locker room that Vladimir Guerrero gave with David Ortiz, one of the funniest moments in television of 2025. Just absolutely hysterical. Yankees lose. Over and over again, in front of Derek Jeter, in front of Alex Rodriguez, and in front of the world, in front of nationally televised audience. So good. I mean, so good. It was hysterical. It was, as a Red Sox fan, it was classic. It was absolutely classic. And congrats to the Blue Jays. Again, people aren't giving the Blue Jays enough credit. You know, they play the game the right way. They pitch, they field, they have timely hits. They're the anti-Yankees. You know, the Yankees are all about home runs and extra bases. The Yankees will have to look themselves in the mirror and try to figure out whether or not Aaron Boone is the guy for the job, whether or not Brian Cashman is the right man for the job, or are they just going to keep on rinsing and repeating every single time? Because it feels that way when the Yankees are playing, that it is like a rinse and repeat. They make the playoffs and they lose. They make the playoffs and they lose. And you can say, well, they made the World Series last year. Okay, they lost. See, I'm old enough to remember that used to be the standard for the Yankees. It didn't matter when the Yankees lost. The only question would be, did they lose? And if they lost, it was a failure. Now it's, well, it was a good season. We played well, and Toronto won the division, and so we had a tough fight against Boston, had to go 3 games against the Red Sox, and then we had to figure out how to handle this really tough Toronto Blue Jays team. Didn't used to be that way. And it also wouldn't just be Aaron Judge. They would have gotten Aaron Judge some real help. They would have built a team that plays baseball, not home run derby, which is what the Yankees were this year. Just a home run derby baseball team that got beat by a team that plays the game in all facets. Blue Jays are going to be a tough out. Seattle, Detroit, they're going to be a tough out. Jays to go to the World Series. You can talk me into that. I was willing to listen to that a couple of weeks ago with the Blue Jays and the way they were playing, just given their pitching staff and given the way that their bullpen had performed. But their offense, I mean, they did that without Bo Bichette. If Bo Bichette's knee is okay and they can come back in the ALCS or the World Series, that's another really good offensive weapon that the Blue Jays will have at their disposal to go ahead and be able to move forward and potentially make the World Series. So, I mean, if you are a Yankee fan, Aaron Judge did his part. It was not Aaron Judge's fault. He batted 500 in the World Series. The 3-run home run he hit in Game 3 was awesome. I mean, that was a towering shot off the foul pole. He did everything he could do, but it was everyone else that failed the Yankees. It was the bullpen that failed the Yankees. It was the offense. It was Jazz Chisholm. It was everybody who failed the Yankees for either not hitting or not fielding or not pitching the way that they were being paid to do so. And the Yankees now head off to Cancun to watch the World Series like the Red Sox and all of us. I'm never angry. When the Yankees lose, I'm never mad. JJ, I don't know. Will Aaron Boone lose his job? I don't know. Because in order for Aaron Boone to lose his job, and I'm not saying it can't happen, but in order for Aaron Boone to lose his job, you have to fire the GM and Brian Cashman. I'm not sure they're there yet where they're going to fire Brian Cashman and clean house entirely. They both got contract extensions. Money shouldn't matter for the Yankees, but it is worth pointing out. It's worth looking at it, saying there is this question about being tied at the hip as to if Aaron Boone goes, do you also have to get rid of Brian Cashman? And if you do, that is a complete overhaul of everything. And I mean everything with the Yankees from an organizational standpoint. Not saying it's wrong, not saying it shouldn't happen, but I just don't know. Our Quinn Priester love ended brutally yesterday. The Cubs stayed alive with a 4-3 win over the Brewers. They had the bases loaded in the 8th inning, needing 1 run to tie the game, and they could not get the timely hit with 2 outs that they had been getting in the 2 previous games for Milwaukee. Quinn Priester got crushed early in that game, but the Brewers were right there. They were right there. They had a shot to win that game. But the Cubs win, and they force a Game 4. What are the Cubs doing today? What if I know this? How doesn't Craig Counsell throwing a lefty and Matthew Boyd against this team? And you could tell me that Matthew Boyd at home is so much better than Matthew Boyd on the road, and I'll give that to you. His numbers would completely bear that out. He gave up 6 runs in 2/3 of an inning in the first start in Game 1 of this series. But again, I'm going to give you guys the stats again about the Milwaukee Brewers up against left-handed pitching. They are number 1 in average, number 2 in hits, and number 5 in RBIs. Throwing a lefty starter in a must-win game, home record or no home record, I do not understand what the Cubs are doing with this. You can say, who else? Matt, who else are they going to throw? Okay. Bullpen game it. Don't throw a lefty. Don't give the Brewers a chance to hit a lefty early and get a lead early, because when the Brewers get a lead, that's when it sets up their entire pitching staff. That's when they become really problematic, when they're able to throw who they want and get their guys lined up. And then pitching with a lead is a gigantic weapon and benefit for the Brewers. They're not really a come from behind team. You saw it yesterday, right? They clawed back into it, but they can do it, but they're not known for it. It's not what they're known for, these come from behind victories. They are known from getting a lead and boa constricting it and using the arms in that bullpen to hold on to it and not blow games in which they have leads. So I just can't believe they're starting Boyd. I just Matthew Boyd starting today. I just was like, it's managerial malpractice. I'm just saying, if I can sit in Las Vegas and go ahead and say, throwing a lefty starter against the Brewers in a must-win situation is a really bad idea. If I know that, I don't understand how the Cubs don't know that. How the Cubs are like, yeah, we're not going to throw a lefty here. This is a bad idea. Like, Matthew Boyd at home, regardless of the numbers. And his numbers are great at home. There's absolutely no debate that Matthew Boyd, his numbers at home are completely different than his numbers on the road. And you could say, hey, in the first game, it went poorly because Freddie Peralta pitched really well. But Matthew Boyd is 12-1 at Wrigley with a 2.51 ERA, 209 opposing batting average. Much different pitcher than on the road. But he did give up 6 runs in 2/3 of an inning in game number 1. Okay, I'm just saying, like, he did have a start on the 12th of September against Tampa. He went 5 innings, gave up 4 earned runs. So it's not like he has not been touched up at home. He has. So I don't know. I don't get it. Yep. 100%. Yep. Give me the Brewers. 100%. Give me the Brewers. You got to feel for Clayton Kershaw a bit last night. He came out of the pen. The Philadelphia Phillies went to work. It benefited for me. I was on the over. Only bet I got right last night was the over in that game, thanks to 2 home runs and a ball that I don't know if it's landed yet, hit by Kyle Schwarber. I mean, that was unbelievable. 119 miles per hour off the bat. Thing was completely annihilated, but it was more than that. Kershaw comes in and just got crushed by the Phillies. Now, he was left out there for a reason. He was forced to wear that because the game was essentially over. That was the Dodgers saying to the Phillies, you can have game 3, come back here in game 4, and we'll take care of business. The number was -115 last night. It's now -130 as Dodger money is coming in. I don't know how you don't bet the Dodgers today on this. I mean, this is a really cheap price on the Dodgers that I just think you have to come in and jump on LA here. This is a principal play with the Dodgers. You aren't going to get a better price in this big of a big game. And I know Tyler Glasnow is a little bit up and down, right? 4-3 with a 3.19 ERA. He's been hurt a lot, hasn't pitched a ton. He's pitched, he pitched the whole month of September. Team has won 5 straight games started by Tyler Glasnow. ERA in September was 2.49. He only went 1 2/3 in the first game against the Phillies, where he came out of the bullpen, earned run. So this is kind of like a bullpen game, but not really. I just think they've already seen Christopher Sanchez. The Dodgers have. They're at home. Ohtani was relatively quiet last night. Sanchez 7-5 with a 3.02 ERA on the road in the first game. I mean, this was where they thought he was taken out of the game too early. It was 3-2. They went and got the bullpen and lost the game 5-3. So 2 earned runs in 5 2/3 innings worth of work. But I just think, give me the Dodgers. Like, just give me the Dodgers. I think that they win, and Dodgers come up with a W on this. Nice scheduling. Somebody in the chat is saying nice scheduling. Iran Sean. I don't know if that's a bad thing. Like, so most of the NHL is opening up tonight, and that's what Iran Sean's talking about. Most of the NHL has games. If they haven't played, it's either game 2 or game 1. But the league, it's a gigantic schedule. Let's see how many games. Let me count how many games are on the slate tonight in the NHL. Let's see. There are, I think, is it the whole league? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13. The whole league. The entire league plays tonight. Everyone is on the ice tonight for the NHL. So they're up against 2 playoff games and Thursday night football. That's rough. That's rough. So essentially, like the entire thing, the entire league's playing. I don't mind it though. It gives us a ton of things to watch. too many games to handicap, to be quite honest. I got a couple that we can watch, but too many to handicap with this. But speaking of hockey, the Bruins returned to form with Jeremy Swayman last night. He looked like Jeremy Swayman. We talked about it yesterday about why I bet the Bruins to go over 79.5 points. And we talked to Casey Hudson about it on Tuesday. That I like the Bruins to go back to Bruin hockey, low scoring, hard fought hockey games. And look, they won the game 3-1 because of the open net goal they scored late. But I 100% was in love with the way the Bruins played last night, holding down Ovechkin, holding down the offense for Washington, playing Boston Bruins hockey, and Jeremy Swayman looking like Jeremy Swayman last night for the Bruins. So if that's how Boston's going to play, that's huge. That's exactly how, if you're a Bruins fan, you want the Bruins to approach this season. Pasternak had a goal and an assist. He looked like the best player on the ice, which has to happen for Boston to be competitive. But the power play wasn't awful. The kill was good as you would expect. And the Bruins get a big road win to start the season 3-1 up against Washington. The late game was here in Vegas, and it was nuts. The Golden Knights lose to the LA Kings 6-5. LA only scored one goal against the Avalanche at home on their opening night 2 nights ago, and then scored 6 or 5 with the shootout win 6-5. That was a wild game here in Vegas. And look, I don't know if Vegas wants to play like that. And that's not like Bruce Cassidy to go and play that level of up-tempo hockey. But the Kings came out with their hair on fire. They scored 2 goals to start the game in the first period to go up 2-0. Vegas eventually scored 3 to go up 3-2. The Kings tied it. It was 3-3. Then it was 4-3, 4-4, 5-4, 5-5 going to overtime, where the Kings finally win the game in a shootout. I mean, Vegas came back multiple times, but that's not great. You really don't want to have that type of game because it's not Bruce Cassidy's system to play that up tempo. 11 goals is not what you would want. Aiden Hill giving up 5 goals is not what you want if you're a Golden Knight, if you're a fan of the Golden Knights. So Mitch Marner with a good debut, Jack Eichel with a good debut, 81 more games to go, nothing to freak out about. But yeah, I agree, JPC. Teams that played one game had an advantage last night. LA had played a game, Vegas had not. And that's why they came out on fire 2-0. But I don't know. I'll see where Vegas goes. They have a game tonight. Vegas is on the road tonight at San Jose, a game that they should win. Vegas is a pretty, $2 favorite tonight. Total of 6.5 for this game. Vegas, historically speaking, they do not like. They do not like the Sharks. So we don't know who's playing in net for the Sharks, but it looks like Aiden Hill will play on back-to-back nights for the Golden Knights. So let's see if he plays better tonight than he did yesterday. How about the Vegas Aces? They are 1 win away from their 3rd title in 4 years. Asia Wilson hits the game winner in game 3 at Phoenix last night. Phoenix was favored by 3.5 points. Vegas gets the victory here. And I mean, this is a dynasty. I mean, this is one of those incredible runs in sports. And again, I have a 3-1 ticket that I bought before the playoffs began because of the 17-game win streak for the Vegas Aces. I've been quoting this stat for like a month now, that teams that had a 15-game or longer in-season winning streak in the W, the previous 4 all went on to win the championship. Vegas is 1 win away from winning the championship. And Vegas will go and become, for me, a dynasty to me is 3 championships in 4 years. That is what Becky Hammon will have with Vegas. The questions about Becky Hammon moving on to the NBA, I think will get pretty loud very soon. And I think there's going to be some team. She is going to be the first female to coach an NBA team, head coach of an NBA team. I really do believe that. And she's from the Greg Popovich coaching tree. It very well could be the San Antonio Spurs if it were to make sense, if there is a way of getting it happen, of make it to happen. But she has the best player in the game in Asia Wilson. So when you have the best player, sure, you can become a better coach. But you have to go back and realize that the Vegas Aces, after making some pretty big roster adjustments and changing out the guards from last year's team, that this was a team at 500 halfway through the season. And then they took off because the coach was able to figure out how to use different players in different positions. And Asia Wilson still being the best player in the game, but the surrounding cast has stepped up and really played incredibly well. And that game last night, I mean, Vegas had a pretty big lead in the fourth quarter and they almost blew it, but they're able to hang on to get a W. Charlotte Hornets for Becky Hammon. Okay. I think any team. I mean, I think it comes down to ownership more than the team. Like, does ownership, are they okay to go into it? Somebody on Instagram is asking me, Sammy, I don't look at it all that often. So if you're writing me questions on Instagram, I tend to look at the YouTube chat more than I do. Although I guess there's something coming where we're going to be able to look at all the chats are going to come into one place on StreamYard. So there may be a way of I won't have to have that problem in the near future. But yeah, if you're on Instagram watching and you want to write on the chat, you're better to come over to the YouTube channel at Boston versus the Book and hop in the chat. And then you guys can talk and you guys can go ahead and write in the chat. But I do click over once in a while. So I did see that from Sammy, that every once in a while I will look at the Instagram. But more often than not, I'm always looking at this. She's a better coach than Doc Rivers. I mean, I don't know. But wow, Yorkie, she stays in Vegas until the NBA team. Could you imagine her? No, here's my thing. I don't actually want her coaching in Vegas with an expansion team. If that's what happens with Vegas, I think it will be an expansion team in Vegas because she's going to lose. I don't even think that's fair. The first ever female, like when you break that type of glass ceiling, when you become the first professional Big Four female head coach in hockey, basketball, baseball, or football, and if you lose immediately, like you will with an expansion team, you will lose immediately. That I don't want that. I want her to go to a program that has an established culture that she can add and she can show what she can really do. And can she coach? I mean, Greg Popovich will stand there and talk to you till you're blue in the face, saying that Becky Hammon right now can coach men and she can win with men 100%. If she wins 3 championships in 4 years with the Golden with Vegas, with the Aces, I mean, what's left to do? Like for Becky Hammon, like she's dominating female basketball. The next step would be to go coach men. Where, right? Well, you put her in the G League. Who cares? Like, come on, that makes no sense. Put her in the NBA. Let's see what she can do. But I do think when and if it happens, Becky Hammon is going to be the first ever female coach to be in the NBA. I can't wait to see which team that it winds up becoming. So, again, sorry, StreamYard has frozen again, so I don't have the fun stingers, but I can just go roll into just the picks for us here. Games, picks, and plays that we can make coming up here for tonight. Here are your stats for the Eagles and the Giants that everybody's referencing, but it's pretty good to reference them. This series in the last 14 meetings, 10-4 to the under for the Giants and the Eagles, dating back to 2018. 3 straight games have gone under, and 5 of the last 6 have gone under. The Eagles in prime time have owned the Giants. 11 games, 11 wins in prime time for the Eagles over the Giants. The last time the Giants beat the Eagles in prime time, you have to go all the way back to Eli Manning against Donovan McNabb in November of 2008. The Eagles have faced the Giants in prime time since 2009, 8-3 to the number, but also 8-3 against the spread. So the question will be, how many points will the Giants score tonight? Well, the problem is without Malik Neighbors, they've scored 29, 7, and 14 points. And the 29 points when they scored without Malik Neighbors was basically halfway into that game when they lost him. The 2 games without him, 7 and 14 points scored in those 3 games. That is not good. The Jets and the Giants have played 40 night games combined since the start of the 2019 season. Combined, they are 5-35 straight up. The Giants are 2-20 straight up in night games since 2019, and they are 1-12 straight up in night games at MetLife Stadium. The Giants are a dumpster fire at home in prime time. Jackson Dart, I think Jackson Dart making his first primetime start. I mean, obviously it's a big moment for him. I just don't think the Eagles are going to score a ton against a pretty good Giants defense, and the Giants know that they have no shot if this game gets high scoring. Their offense is not going to score more than 17 points tonight against this Eagles defense. So I think the Eagles will have a pretty good effort tonight, given what happened against the Broncos in their last game. And I'm also curious about what the offense looks like. Saquon Barkley running against his former club. Normally he goes off, but he's had a pretty sluggish start to the season running the football for this Eagles offense. Equally, the Stars had to sit down and have a team meeting to talk about the offense with Barkley, Hurts, A.J. Brown, and Devonta Smith. You don't want to be having team meetings when your team only has one loss. That's ego. And you're winning, but guys want their numbers. Guys want their championship pedigree numbers. A.J. Brown wants to be targeted. You've got an offense that has weapons, but it's Jalen Hurts' offense. And Jalen Hurts right now is quarterbacking a team in first place. So you can't really complain about your own personal numbers or targets unless you're going to be really selfish, which essentially is what we have seen out of A.J. Brown in the last couple of seasons. Is he going to be traded? Probably not, but that's why I don't really love this offense to go into New York on a short week after losing to the Broncos and hang 35 points by themselves on this Giants defense. It could happen. I just don't think it's going to. And I think the under is the best play in this game. Under 41, Eagles and the Giants. If you want a two-leg moneyline parlay and the game begins in 4 hours for baseball, I think the Dodgers are going to knock out the Phillies today. Okay. I like the Dodgers to win. I like the Eagles to win, and that's a plus 133 parlay to jump in. Now, I got this when the Dodgers were minus 115. They're now minus 130. So that's going to change it's going to make it like a plus 120 parlay. But I do think the Dodgers win today. They're tremendous after losses. I do think Ohtani has a really big game here today. And I think we see a win for the Dodgers. Now, if that's wrong, I will be stunned beyond stunned if the Eagles lose tonight. Like, I just cannot see the Eagles losing to the Giants. So I think that side's good. It's the Dodgers side that's the questionable side of this parlay. So if the Dodgers are down like 7-0 in the third inning, like something stupid, and you know that they're not going to win that parlay, I think you could do another one with the Eagles before they kick off at 8:20 Eastern time, and then find a hockey game like the Avalanche against the Utah Mammoth. And you can go ahead and put hockey up against it. It's just that hockey is so right now, it's early and we don't really know who's good. Colorado's looked pretty good in their opener against LA, and how many goals LA scored last night kind of leads me to believe that there is something there, that there's actually a really, the Avalanche are going to be really good early in the season. So I think you could go ahead and put that together. I don't mind with Vegas either. Vegas bouncing back on the road against San Jose, but Colorado's at home. Vegas is on the road. So a little bit of I would lean towards I think the Avalanche is the better bet. So if you need to go ahead and redo it to cover it up, again, both these bets are plus money, right? So 1 unit on this, if it misses, you lose a unit. You come back with a plus money bet on Eagles. Avalanche is also plus money. If that cashes for you, then you're profitable. It's not a big profit, but you're profitable. So that's how I'm doing this. That if the Dodgers lose, I'll replace it, but I cannot see the Eagles losing to the Giants tonight. I can't. Yorkie, Panthers not a bad bet. Don't mind that. With them tonight, they are at home. I looked at that against Montreal. No, Montreal plays Detroit. Against Philadelphia, the Flyers. Young team, but yeah, you'd expect the Panthers to win that game up against the Flyers coming up here tonight. So that's one way of approaching this. Milwaukee is ending the Cubs season today. All right. Just like the Blue Jays ended the Yankees. A lefty is pitching for the Cubs. They're throwing Matthew Boyd. Like, of course, what am I doing? I'm betting Milwaukee. Like, yes, we're betting Milwaukee. It's not even a question. We're betting Milwaukee. Freddie Perrault is going. Okay. Pitching matchup heavily favors the Brewers. They lost 4-3, and they were one single away from winning that game last night. If they'd gotten that 2-out hit, the 2-out hit, they got the whole series prior to last night. If they got that hit, series is over. So it wasn't like the Cubs dominated that game and blew the doors off the Brewers last night. The Brewers hung around, and nearly stole it. I don't think they need to worry about it too much. Ooh, don't mind that. Go ahead and sprinkle money line or run line. Don't mind that. Brewers win today. Brewers advance to the National League Championship Series where they'll play the Dodgers. I think the Dodgers win today. The Brewers win today. And we have our National League Championship Series. And then I will have a very big question, a very big conversation with myself about what do I want to do with the Dodgers, because I have the Brewers at 27-1. I bet 1 unit on the Cubs. I bet 1 unit on the Padres. So now I'm down to 25-1 ticket on this. So what do I do with the Dodgers? How big of a favorite will the Dodgers be? Will be my question. Probably pretty big, probably $2, maybe $2.50 against the Brewers. But the Brewers are 6-0 this year against the Dodgers, and the Brewers have home field. So that number won't be as dramatic for the championship series as probably it would be on that. Ooh, hold on a second. My computer's not plugged in. Hold on. Wait 1 second. I got to plug my computer in. We're going to lose the whole thing. Sorry. Things when you're by yourself that you have to correct. You have to go and run. Otherwise the computer's going to go, and then we're going to go. I didn't realize the computer wasn't plugged in. How did that happen? So on that. All right. What's a 140 bet? Oh, wow. You think the Dodgers would be minus 140? Really? That low? 140, Brian. Huh. Let me look real quick. Let me see if we have any prices on this already for. So to win the National League, Dodgers are minus 120 and the Brewers are plus 230 to win the National League right now. So if the Brewers and the Dodgers play each other, you split that in half, it's like 150, 140, 150. Yeah, you might be on. Yeah, you might be on something. That's not bad. If that's the case, and I can really get involved heavy. Now, again, it's to win the World Series. It's not to win the National League. So like I'm hedging on both sides. You know what I mean? So like, if it's just take $100, if it's $100 bet to win 2,700, now it's to win 2,500. I bet the Dodgers at like 3 or 4 units. And then I'm going to bet if the Milwaukee Brewers win, then I'm betting the Brewers, or I'm betting whoever comes out of the American League, Blue Jays or Seattle, I'm betting them at 3 or 4 units. And so like, basically if the Brewers win, I've always said to myself, like, I'm going to guarantee myself at least to not lose any money and to win 3 or 4x my money on the bet. So I am going to be hedging every round, and I have, I've hedged every round so far, and I'll keep hedging off of this, but I'm going to be, Dodger fans in Vegas. That's true, Brian. We should get a better price here in Vegas with how much money will come in on the Dodgers. That's true. And then come back and hammer it. And yes, this is my question, JPC. Bet LA to win game 1 of the series. If LA loses game 1, then you have a better hedge price. Yep. Or just wait and see how it goes and not hedge at all. Like just wait and see if the Brewers win game 1 and then win game 2. The Brewers are up 2-0. We're going to get a great price on the Dodgers and just go ahead and come in and hedge then, right? So I don't know what I'll do I'm not sure what I'll do. So, I mean, these are the moments. If people have asked me about missing Dave and when do you ever catch yourself like going to ask him questions about things and these are the conversations that I would have with Dave. We would sit down and we would literally break down what I was expecting to happen, what I thought might happen. And he would say, well, try this, or wait this, or look at that, or shop that market, or do this. And then I would go and look at it. And we'd come back and we would literally spend an hour to an hour and a half breaking down the bet as to how the bet needs to be done, or the best way to be profitable with the bet, which sucks because I would love to get his thoughts on this play. He would already be well into betting on, I think he would be at the window right now buying exactas on the Phillies, on the Cubs, on the Mariners. I think he would be going like, all you need is one of those teams to get there and just have it not be the Dodgers, betting on everybody else to make the World Series but the Dodgers to go ahead and jump in on that. And finally, to college football tonight, Tulane laying 6.5. I know it's chalky. I know it's very popular. It's very square. I don't care whatever terminology you want to make on this. You've got a East Carolina team who is 4-1 ATS. Tulane is 3-2 ATS. But the caliber of opponent, I think, has been much better for Tulane. The number opened up at 7.5. The first move was on East Carolina. It's been driven down below 7 now, and the number hasn't really moved. I think Tulane wins tonight. I think Tulane is the better team with the better quarterback, home environment. East Carolina, I think, is going to be in for it here tonight. Their defense is good. Their offense is not. I like the offense for Tulane. 1-0 in the American for both these two teams. I will take a W here for Tulane and lay the 6.5 points with Tulane. All right, college football week 7. Let's talk about some of these games that will take place this week. Let's start with number 1 Ohio State on the road against Illinois. 14-point home dog. 14-point home dog in this situation. And if you're a fan of Illinois, you got to at least think your team has a shot to keep this game close. That you at least have a shot to be late in the game, having a chance to upend a very good Ohio State team. You can't get into a shootout with Ohio State. And I mean, the first move has been on the dog, because 14 points in Big Ten football, that's a lot for a road team to lay. And Ohio State being number 1 or not, still a pretty big number. It's an early kick. It's a, big noon kickoff for Illinois. So not the greatest of environments for Illinois to have, which kind of stinks a little bit. But Illinois is 5-1 against the number this year. Ohio State is 4-0-1 against the number. They're 1-0 on the road. The only road game that they had is against Washington. They were laying 10 points and they won by 18. If you remember, everybody was on Washington for that game. I'm not sure everybody's going to be on Illinois, but Illinois at home was a 7-point dog to USC. They won the game outright. They were laying 27 to Western Michigan. They won the game by 38, and they were laying 48.5 against Western Illinois, and they won by 49. Coming off of that road win against Purdue, where they won and covered, laying 7.5 points. 14's a lot of points to lay, but it is Justin Sane on the road for the second time, but the first Big Ten start for Justin Sane. We'll see what the Ohio State offense looks like there. Laying 14's a lot. Indiana, Oregon. I can tell you right now, the professionals, as we heard from Adam Bjorn on Wednesday, the professionals are all over Indiana. This number was 9 at some books. It's been bet all the way down to 7 here in what will be the biggest game of the weekend in the Big Ten. Oregon at home. If Indiana can walk into Oregon and beat the Ducks in Eugene, you want to talk about announcing your presence. If you're Kirk Signetti and company, this would be huge for Indiana to go and do this and knock off the Ducks at home. The Ducks are 4-1 this year against the number. The only game they didn't cover was against Northwestern, where they were laying 25.5, and they won by 20. For Indiana, they were laying 9 points against Iowa 2 weeks ago. They're coming off of a bye. Both these teams are coming off of byes. But you had a 9-point number, and then the safety that got taken, and that whole thing we talked about in the wake of the Iowa game. But a 5-point win for Indiana as 9-point road favorites in their last game. Both teams, as I said, off a bye. Oregon has not played since beating Penn State on the road at the Whiteout as 4-point dogs, winning the game by 6. Look it. I don't know how you don't like Indiana here. Plus the points. Plus the points. because I do think we saw in that Penn State game that you can throw on this Oregon Duck defense. I don't know what the game plan was for Penn State. The lack of quarterback talent, also a problem, but Indiana's got a quarterback. Indiana's got an offense. I just think Indiana's got a shot to keep this game close. It's why the number was 9, 8, 7. If you find 7.5, I like that a lot here on this. If it goes below 7, I'll take the Ducks. If this thing keeps on dropping and it goes down and it goes below 6 to 6.5, I'll take the Ducks. But I mean, I can't wait to watch this game. I mean, Saturday, this is a game where you got to make sure that you're sitting down in front of a TV set to watch Oregon against Indiana. And how many times have we said that? How many times have we said you have to sit down, you have to watch this game? This is going to be such an amazing matchup because it's a great learning opportunity for us with Indiana. Just how good is Indiana? We know what Oregon is. They went on the road and won at Penn State. We know how good they are. So now let's find out how good Indiana is. Can they go with this, with the bright lights? Can they go in there and get a really big victory? Let's talk about Alabama and Missouri. The 8th ranked tied, 3-point favorites on the road against, and Missouri is ranked. I forgot to put their ranking up there. Sorry. Missouri is ranked. They are also ranked. I think they're now 14th. Missouri is ranked. This is another big test for Kellen DeBoer's club. On the road, hasn't been great, but this year he's 4-1 against the number, and the only game they lost was on the road at Florida State, losing the game by 14 as 13.5-point favorites. For Missouri, they've basically played one game. And that one game was against South Carolina, and they won the game by 9 as 10-point favorites. UMass, Louisiana, Kansas, and Central Arkansas. Yee. Bama's played Florida State, Georgia, and Vanderbilt. We don't know what Wisconsin really is, but Bama's got I'm very surprised at the Missouri move, to be quite honest. Bama has covered 4 consecutive games. They have won 4 consecutive games, and Kellen DeBoer tends to have his teams focused. I like Alabama. Under 3, I like Bama at 2.5 if it gets there, but we'll see. Adam Bjorn told us yesterday that he didn't think that Betcris Arizona would go to 2.5, but if they go to 2.5, give me Alabama. Red River, Oklahoma is a dog in this game because of the quarterback situation. If John Mateer plays, this number will change dramatically. But as of right now, he's trying to play, but it does not look like he's going to play for Oklahoma, and thus Texas is favored. I cannot believe the total of this game. I'm 48 years old. I remember how much of an automatic bet the Red River shootout, I'm old enough to remember that, this was an automatic over every single year, and it did not matter how big of a number it is. Oklahoma is 5-0 to the under this year, and that's why this number is 43. The closest that they have come to it going over was against Temple, and the total was 50.5. Oklahoma won the game 42-3. That failed to go over by 5.5 points. Last week against Kent State, 44-0. They blanked the Golden Flashes. It went under by 9.5 points. Against Auburn at home, total was 47, 24-17 final win for Oklahoma, and the game went under by 6 points. The last 2 games, however, for Texas have gone over, including against Florida, where the total was 43 on the road, and they lost the game 29-21. If Texas loses this game after losing to Ohio State, losing to Florida, and losing to Oklahoma, given all the hype for Arch Manning, given all the hype for Texas coming in, being the number 1 ranked team in the country, this will be one of the most historic collapses in recent memory for Texas, to lose the 3 biggest games of the year when you had the Heisman Trophy odds-on favorite in Arch Manning at quarterback. Steve Sarkisian, you need to win this game, guy. Need to win this game. OU's defense could win them for it, but yikes. The question is, yikes for Texas if they lose to Oklahoma without John Mateer playing quarterback. If you guys are watching this show live, don't move. Bonus time coming, more on college football and more on games tonight here that we can take a look at. If you're watching on the replay on Sports Grid Television or listening to the audio podcast, well, the audio podcast people don't move. More to come for you as well. But if you're watching the replay on Sports Grid, thank you for being here. We're back tomorrow for a Fight Song Friday. I apologize. Our stingers aren't working, so no stinger, but we'll talk to you tomorrow for a Fight Song Friday episode of the Bostonian versus the book. Okay, let's get rolling. Matt, I feel like you were the one who urged us to take OU a few weeks ago before Material got hurt at plus 4.5. That's what I have. Good. That's a good number. Smart move. 4.5. That's insane value. Now, here's what you can do, Cole. Either in-game or pre-game. You can lay the 1.5 with Texas if you want. And then you hope that Texas wins the game by a field goal. Okay? You have a great middle opportunity. You have what's called an ARB opportunity where you can't lose. You can only lose the juice, depending on what juice you paid on 4.5. If it's minus 110, you can just go ahead and lay 1 or 1.5 with Texas, hope that Texas wins by 3, and you've got two winning tickets. So you're in a good spot. You're in a good spot there with the Red River. Again, I like Oklahoma's defense a lot, and I don't like the quarterback play at all for Texas. So it's insane. I think the under is the play, which is nuts. I'm betting the under in the Red River is like sacrilegious. You can't do it. And finally, Georgia and Auburn, the South's oldest rivalry. These two teams do not like each other, and I've been very impressed with Auburn this year. I got to admit, Auburn's better than what I have expected out of them this year. I think their offense is better than what people have thought that they were going to be. And I think this Auburn team has got something here at home at Jordan-Hare Stadium for Georgia coming in. And I think this number is a little bit high at 3.5. Auburn is 2-1 against the number this year. Georgia is 1-4 against the number. The only time that Georgia has covered was last week at home against Kentucky. They went on the road to Tennessee. I was on Tennessee at +4. Number closed at 3.5. We went to overtime. Georgia won the game by 3. I'll take the 3.5 points at home here for Auburn. Auburn went on the road and they beat Baylor. The Oklahoma loss was, that was kind of crazy with Oklahoma. But the A&M game on the road, they were catching 6.5. They lost by 6. I like Auburn to lose this game by a field goal. I'll take the hook on this. Auburn plus the 3, but good, fun game to watch. I'm excited to see what happens here with Auburn and whether Georgia's defense can stop them running the football. If they can, Georgia should win the game pretty easily. But at Jordan-Hare, you're going to have a lot of really angry Tiger fans waiting for Georgia to come on in. Be a lot of Georgia fans too there, by the way, but that's a fun game. That's a fun game in the SEC. Watch out for an upset for Georgia here to get beat by Auburn. But I think Georgia wins by 3 on this. Brendan, Georgia's defense is not like it normally is. True. Defensive line, not the same. True. Both true. But I do think their offense is good enough to move the ball and to win, but not by more than 3. So I like Auburn plus 3.5 on that. News of the industry. Massachusetts is looking to do something that not everybody's in line with. They had a hearing today to talk about it. They're talking about raising the minimum age of a VIP, of a very important person. Why? Why are they thinking about doing this? Well, what they're thinking about doing, and I'm not saying I 100% agree with it, but there's the theory is if you're 25 years old, if you're going to be given VIP status, meaning you're going to get all of these, you're going to have a host, you're going to have people who are going to be calling you with all these offers, that you have to be older in order to be a VIP. The question would be this, that I think, and I saw this got brought up by a couple of people, and I think it's actually a pretty cool thing to bring up. If you are 21 and you can gamble, but I say you have to be 25 to be a VIP. How do you handle that? Like, how are you going to change the law? Because it's up to the individual companies to dictate who gets VIP treatment, not the state. So to say and then what comes with VIP treatment? Like every book is different in terms of the VIP treatment. So I think it's different. So, Addison, that's arbing though. Arbing's the same thing. Middling and arbing is very similar. I mean, that's very similar. That's taking a shot. You can arb. Yeah. You can only win one side, but that's, you basically can't lose. I mean, that's, you can't lose. It's, you're paying the juice. It's middling. Arbing is the same, is very similar on the two. Who are they trying to protect themselves? They're trying to protect the bettors, Brendan. They're trying to say that the books are being predatory to young people. And so the answer kind of is, all right, if you're 23 years old and you have a ton of money, do you know what you're doing with that money? And so the government is telling a 23-year-old that they are not capable of making decisions for themselves. So I think that's the problem. That it's not up to the government to dictate this. You know, you're trying to save somebody from themselves. Well, the law states you have to be 21 years of old to gamble. And if you're 21 years of age, why can the mass gaming come in and say, sorry, you're not able to make enough, conscientious decisions to be able to turn down a VIP host or turn down a VIP offer? DraftKings just sent Emerson Latzia and a ton of the Barstool guys to Pinehurst to play in a golf tournament with a bunch of VIPs from DraftKings. So they had to go play this whole big thing. So, I mean, yes, that's kind of like saying that, right, Yvonne Sean. So you can drink Bud Light at 21, but not Guinness till 25. Yes, that's basically what they're saying. Or they're saying like, you can drink beer at 21, but you can't drink liquor until you're 25. Well, why? Well, because we don't think you can handle it. Wait, what? So that's part of the problem. Like I think if you're Massachusetts and you're going to come in and you're trying to make this, to set spending limits, activity reports as of the default, make them opt out of these. So like you get to see how much money you're losing, you get to see how much money you're betting, how long you're spending on the app, all the things that the VIPs get. They want everybody to have that. I don't really mind that, but it's the raising of the minimum age of the VIPs to 25 that has everyone's attention. And I think it's actually a good question to ask. How can you do that legally? If you want to go change the betting age to 25, then change the betting age to 25. You can't do it. You can't do it if you're doing it, just saying randomly, hey, if you have a VIP program, everybody in your VIP program must be 25. Well, kind of a random number, right? That's like going back to when my daughter asked me, why is the drinking age 21? And I had to explain to her. She said, why is the voting age 18? I had to explain to her. And she goes, I don't understand. Isn't voting more important than drinking? And I was like, good point. Shouldn't that be reversed? I was like, yeah. It's a good point. So now we're going to just kind of like randomly pull a number out and be like, 25. To be able to be a VIP, you got to be 25. Well, that, millionaire kid who inherits his dad's fortune at 24. Sorry, you can't give you a VIP program. Sorry, got to wait one more year, and then we can give you a VIP program. Because we say at 24, you're not eligible. At 25, you are. I think this fails. I don't think this actually flies. I think people are going to shoot this down pretty quickly. And if they do try to pass it, it could be watch. Look, Brendan, Kalshi's going to do whatever the fuck they want. Like Kalshi is, I am blown away by the number of people they approached me. Swear to God, God's honest truth. They approached me. They asked me and said, would you be interested in sponsored content to promote Kalshi on BVB? I was like, my answer to the guy literally was, is this question serious? I literally asked the guy, he DM'd me and said, would you be interested in paid promoted content for Kalshi? And my answer to him was, is this question serious? And the guy said, absolutely, but you feel free to turn it down. And I just started laughing. I was like, there's no way you're paying attention to what we have been talking about on this show for 2 years, and you want to sponsor the show? You want to sponsor content? Like, you clearly don't know anything about us. Like, I get it. You're just spray and play. Anybody in the gambling space, you are spraying and playing, trying to get people to sponsor Kalshi. I get it 100%. But I am not that big. I'm a whore, but I'm not that big of a whore. Okay. I do have integrity, and I'm not going to sit here and rail against prediction markets and saying prediction markets are illegal and they need to be policed by the individual states and have licenses. And in a 50-state solution to just circumvent everything we've done with PASPA and just completely go and say, all right, everybody can have, I've seen these ads from friends of mine who have literally, who've done this, gotten paid by Kalshi, who gotten paid to do the influencer stuff, say, well, if sports gambling is not legal in your state, it is in Kalshi, and it's the same thing. That was the language used in the paid spot from Kalshi, from an influencer who I know, who I have worked with, and he claims that prediction markets and betting is the same thing, and Kalshi's completely okay with that person saying that as part of a paid advertising campaign. I just was like, what the holy hell are we doing? Look it again. I will talk about, you give me a read and I'm anchor man, right? If you give me a read to read and say, Matt, read this, I'll read this, because frankly, I understand the role of media. We're not here to judge companies in the way companies do business, unless I think that company is doing something that's going to impact the sponsors that we currently have on the show, which is what is going on, which is what is happening. It's going to hurt Circa. It's going to hurt BetCris Arizona. It's going to hurt Prime. It's going to hurt Sport Trade. Okay. Although Sport Trade is actually trying, and Alex Kane is really trying to become a prediction market. Like they're trying to zig and go into and become a prediction market. So I've seen Alex go the other way and say, okay, we need from a business strategic standpoint, they want to go become a prediction market, and maybe he can talk me into it. Okay. Maybe Alex can show me that there is, an opportunity that with Kalshi that, or with prediction markets from a sport trade perspective, say, okay, they're just going to do it the right way. If there is a right way to do it, I don't know. But this idea that you can just say sports gambling and prediction markets are the same thing in ads, they're not the same thing. Not the same thing at all. At all. So maybe, okay. Tyrone Boyd said they weren't that serious, but they had to try. Maybe. I mean, maybe. I don't know. But again, if you say, hey, Matt, I'm going to give you $1 million. You're going to, every day, you're going to come on and you're going to read this for Kalshi. Okay. I don't know what number. And that's when I answered the guy. It was funny because it was probably I think it was 2 days after. It was the Monday after Dave passed away that I got that DM. And I know what Dave would have asked. Dave would have said, sure, I'll do it. $1 million. I want $1 million. And he would have been serious. He would have told Kalshi, I want $1 million. If you want our show to do reads for Kalshi, we want $1 million. And he would have been serious. He 100% would have been serious with it. So pretty wild stuff. Favorite thing about today, again, I apologize. We can't fire any of the fun things because I gotta figure out why that's happening. Maybe I gotta clean out a bunch of stuff. Maybe it's freezing because of, oh, wow, look at that. Sorry. I'm just playing around with things, trying to see if I can get things to be fixed. It's so funny. It freezes like I freeze, but it doesn't come back. So I can't get access to all of the fun stuff. I can still play because it's on a different screen. So I'm able to put favorite thing about today. I can put the crayons on the screen, and I can put certain things that are on the it's when it's frozen, I can still put certain things on the screen. I just can't put the things I want to. I can put things up I can put that up. I can put Emerson Lazio jumping through a table. and then I can come back and I can put me up like that. But I can't play any of the stingers because it's totally frozen. So apologize with that. But favorite thing about today, I can't get access to what I was going to put on the screen for my favorite thing about today, but I wanted to I'll say it so I can put it up. But my cousin Ellie, who is a English as a second language teacher in Somerville, Massachusetts, a suburb right outside of Boston, has been selected as let me make sure I'm going to say this correctly because I don't want to misstate. Hold on. Let me make sure I can read. Let me read this straight from the press release so I can not misspeak for my cousin because I'm super proud of her. Let's see. My cousin, has been selected as a Fulbright scholar to become part of the Fulbright Teachers for Global Classroom program, a learning opportunity and exchange program for U.S. educators to learn and apply skills that prepare young students for a future in the global economy. She will go to a conference in D.C. this winter, and then right afterwards, they're going to send her either to Brazil, Colombia, Morocco, Peru. Purdue would be interesting. Peru, Indonesia, or Senegal to go and help to educate young students as English as a second language to go over and help them with as she said, I will learn about global systems of education and the ways that schools in other countries integrate language instruction. I will also get to share my practice as an educator and create a portfolio of strategies for bringing a global mindset back to my classes in Somerville. So I'm super proud of my cousin. She's an absolute, incredibly smart individual, but congratulations to my cousin Ellie for that. So very, very cool. I can't sing the favorite thing about today, JPC, but my favorite thing about today is that my cousin Ellie is a Fulbright scholar and we'll get to go overseas and go and represent the family and go and find out all sorts of cool things about teaching English to young people and learning about the global economy and global marketplaces, and then come back and teach me all about it because I know nothing about it. So congratulations to my cousin Ellie for that. That's a very cool thing. A Fulbright scholarship is a pretty damn big deal. So very happy about that. Saw that for her coming up. Yeah, Purdue, but seriously, Peru, not Purdue, Peru. I read Purdue. It's Peru as in the country, not the college. So guys, thanks for being here. Fight Song Friday tomorrow, big college football weekend, a lot of good games to get into. We'll fire off fight songs and picks and plays and more coming up tomorrow on the program. If you are not a subscriber to our YouTube channel, please be one consider to subscribe to at Boston versus the Book. We're back tomorrow, 1 p.m. Eastern time for a Friday Fight Song Friday episode of BVB.